sex, gender, and gender identity, similar terms that mean very different things. And then there is this complicated acronym, LGBTIQ. But let's have a closer look. Sex refers to the biological gender that we are born with. Gender, in turn, describes how people reflect on and express themselves and their perceived gender identity. This is also referred to as the social gender. And to cover all those aspects, we use the term LGBTIQ. The first three letters say something about sexual orientation. L stands for lesbian. They are women who are attracted to other women. G stands for gay. They are men who like other men. And the B stands for bisexual. They are people who are attracted to both women and men. The T stands for trans, which revolves around gender identity. It's based on the idea that gender and sex are different. People are born with a biological sex and are then assigned the attribute girl or boy. However, for some people, these binary attributes are not right. They know they have a different gender identity from their sex and want to have it accepted by society. So if the biological sex is different from the gender of a person, we speak of a trans woman or trans man, respectively. However, there are people for whom these two attributes are simply not sufficient, who feel neither as male nor female, and find their own identity. The correct term here is non-binary, and the variety is as broad as there are people on Earth. The I stands for intersexual. Some people are born with no definitive biological sex. Sometimes, intersexual kids have surgery to adapt their sex, and are hence defined a specific sex. However, this is a very controversial intrusion into the personal physicality of intersexual people. The umbrella term queer, from which the letter Q derives, covers people that fit anywhere on the spectrum of sexual orientation, sex, gender, and identity, and the LGBTI community in general. Because of the rights of intersexual people, some governments recently, in addition to male and female, added a third gender, diverse. Society redetermines what is male, female, or diverse on a daily basis. Between these poles, there is a plethora of ways to express and live one's own gender identity.
As the moderators of today's forum. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone that attended these forum discussions. The topic that we would like to discuss on is, would transgender people be discriminated? But first, what does transgender mean? Transgender has been denoted as a gender identity of a person that differs from their sex block assigned at birth. According to Human Rights Watch, discrimination against transgender people is pervasive in Malaysia. As we know, Malaysia has denied the status of transgender people and hence they face inequality and discrimination as there is no legal protection against them. Before the forum begins, I would like to introduce the speakers of today's discussion. From the left is Suan, our first panelist, and Chin Song will be our second panelist. Without further ado, I would like to invite Suan to give her opinions on the discussion.
Thank you, Sushi. In my opinion, I agree that transgender people will be discriminated as it violates the law. This is because there is no legal recognition of transgender and protection of human right to work transgender. For example, transgender people living in Kuala Lumpur and Selangor face widespread discrimination that impact every aspect of their life, include access to education, housing, employment, and healthcare. Human Rights Commission of Malaysia, Suhakam, had acknowledged that culture and religious sensibility were one of the biggest challenges among protection of human rights. It is clear that steps might be taken to uphold their right as human being and protect them against any discrimination, harm, and violence.
Thank you, Sun, for your opinion. Next, I would like to invite Chin Song to give his opinion upon the topic discussed.
Thanks for giving me an opportunity to share on today's topic. In my opinion, I disagree that transgender people would be discriminated as everyone has their right to live. In this world, everyone should be treated fair, not only the transgender people, also with the LGBT group. The Malaysian government carry out many activities and programs such as rehabilitation, provide the therapy available for transgender people, prevention with having seminars for parents and peers, and complaints with laws prohibiting the glamorization of their lifestyle publicly. In general, government feels that transgender people should return to the right path, conform to binary categories and suppress their sexuality. However, I think that those programs are a waste of time. We cannot inspire and change their mindset in a short time. Besides that, they have their rights to live in this world and should be treated equally by others, although they change their original gender to the opposite gender.
Thank you, Chin Song, for giving his opinion. Since discrimination against transgender people is pervasive in Malaysia, hence inequality towards employment of transgender people has been occurred. Transgender people might fail to receive job positions and often ridiculed by others. Concurrently, transgender people might have experienced harassment or mistreatment in workplace, being forced to cut their hairs by employers, bullied or violated by others. In addition, transgender people would feel insulted while using public amenities when they were meant to be opposite sex. They would feel uncomfortable and completely invaded of privacy as they were forced to use restroom according to their biological gender against preferred identity. Did you agree with me, Suan?
I think my opinion can better protect transgender people who are against discriminate. Suhakam can sustain a multi-stakeholder dialogue including government, cyber society, media, and business to highlight discriminatory practice and promote inclusive recruitment policies that are consistent with United Nations business and human rights guidelines. I strongly believe that Suhakam is capable in solving the problem of discrimination against transgender people.
Well, although Suhakam had made their efforts in protecting human rights of transgender people, I would still like to stick on my point that transgender people will still be discriminated. This is because despite Suhakam has acquired appropriate approaches to help in reducing discriminations against transgender people, yet discrimination couldn't be eliminated in sudden.
Sorry for interruption. As I know, self-harm or suicide issue among transgender group increases day by day in Malaysia. They might feel stressed and decided to self-harm or suicide. The voice and comments from public will cause the transgender group to feel stressed and they would feel themselves as heterogeneous due to the programs that created by Suhakam. Therefore, I suggest that the program should be cancelled as it makes them feel uncomfortable and express their respect towards human rights of transgender people.
In my opinion, I suggest that Suhakam should fulfill their responsibility to protect the transgender community and advocate respect for their human rights and dignity. They should integrate human rights issues into the school curriculum and work with the Ministry of Education, cyber society organization, and school administrator to meet their obligation under the Convention of the Rights of Children (CRC) to stop bullying and discrimination against people with different gender identities.
Despite that transgender people should strive for the human rights, public always prejudice transgender people based on their objective judgments and opinions. Not to be denied that discriminations would occur as public couldn't make recognition towards transgender people because they believe that transgender doesn't obey the natures of God creation.
However, I believe that collaboration among organizations could avoid discrimination towards transgender people. Nowadays, international organizations such as GATE and World Professional Association for Transgender Health work specifically towards transgender rights. Other national levels of organization also works for transgender rights, such as NCTE National Center for Transgender Equalities and Gender Public Advocacy Coalition.
Sorry, Ching Song. I think I still stick to my own idea. An investigation by Human Rights Watch in 4 Malaysian states and federally administered Kuala Lumpur found that state religious officers and police routinely arrest transgender women and subject them to a variety of abuses, including beating, extortion, and violations of their privacy rights. Religious officials have physically and sexually assaulted transgender women during arrest or detention and have matched and shamed them in front of the media. In January 2014, Human Rights Watch conducted field survey in 4 Malaysian states, which is Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Penang, and Pahang, as well as in federal territory in Kuala Lumpur.
So, Human Rights Watch interviewed 66 people, including 42 transgender women and 3 transgender men. The lawyer, AIDS advocacy workers, criminologists, psychologists, and doctors. A representative of the Federal Ministry for Islamic Development, Zakim, and the Government Commissions of Human Rights, and an elected state senator. Human Rights Watch contacted the Ministry of Health and the Departments of Prisons about police affecting transgender people, but neither agency responded. Many of the arrested transgender women were fined and forced to undergo counseling and lectured to officials from the state. Islamic Religious Department about being abandoned. Muslim transgender women are vulnerable to repeated arrest because National Government Registration Office often reject application by transgender women to legally change their gender. One transgender woman told Human Rights Watch that she had been arrested for more than 20 times.
So since there was many discriminated and challenging on transgender human rights, the transgender group need to work hard and collaboration with the society to prove that there is no difference with other people. I hope that the public can accept them in the future because it is not their fault on changing their gender. I also strongly believe that the transgender people will contribute to society someday in the future.
As conclusions, I would like to conclude that our group agree upon transgender people will be discriminated as discrimination occurs, transgender violates the law, and human rights of transgender people will still denied by public. Last but not least, prejudiced individuals always hold transphobia against transgender people. That's all for today's forum. Thank you for your attention.